So Engage 2021. I am Mike Kinsella, Key Account Executive at Smartsheet, and I have the distinct pleasure of being here with Becky Huey, VP of Real Estate at Dell. Becky's located down here in Austin, Texas with me, where she enjoys the outdoors, her son, and her 2 furry grandbabies. So Becky, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much for being here with us. It's always great to reconnect with you.
It's great to be here, Mike. It's been a long time.
It has.
COVID has had us in the house for quite a while, so
it
has.
Been
great.
It has. I think it's been a couple years. It was Engage, I think, a couple years ago. Yeah.
It was, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, of course, my team and I know you and your team quite well. We know the type of work you do. We've been working with you now, like I said, for a couple years. But for those who don't know you, can you take a few minutes and just describe the type of work you do, maybe what's unique or challenging about it, and even how it's changed over your professional development?
Absolutely. So my team is officially called the Business Management Office, and we are part of Dell Technologies Facilities and EH&S organization. And I think the best way to describe what it is that we do for the organization is we're really those tendons and ligaments that keep the muscles and the skeleton all together for the organization. And so through our PMO, our space planning team, our governance teams, our technology team, we make sure that the organization has all the processes and all the tools and all of the things to keep us on track to deliver our strategy. And so with that, what makes that work challenging in our minds is a lot of our work is done through influencing. We have a small team. I don't have a bunch of folks that report directly to me. And so collaboration, relationships, and making sure that we're absolutely aligned with the rest of the organization are really, really critical. And so sometimes a tough road, but it's something that we love and we love to do. I think the last part of your question, Mike, was about, how are things changed and, how have I gotten to where I am? And so I would say I've always been a person who loves to go figure out and solve problems. And so on my own, I would identify a problem, I'd go identify a solution, I'd take it on, and I'd be successful. I would be someone who was, always meeting their commitments. And so, good or bad, the way you want to look at it, I have always then been given more and more and more, which has gotten me here today. So it's really that ability to deliver on those commitments and continue.
That's great, Becky. Good for you. I love the tendons and ligaments comment, because we've had customers refer to our platform as the connective tissue. So there is clearly some synergy between our platform and what you do in your org. So thanks for sharing. A lot of customers have shared with us that at some point in their use of Smartsheet, they go through this aha moment, this moment where they realize that Smartsheet is so much more than they originally thought. Did you similarly have an aha moment where you realized that Smartsheet could really deliver a whole lot more value than you originally thought?
Oh, absolutely. So I would say it goes back to 2019, the last time we were in person at Engage. It was my first Engage conference, and I had a couple of my team members, and we were really going to Engage just to kind of figure out what the Smartsheet thing was. We knew it could do some cool things. We were really there. We went on the day before and did some training, and we were amazed. And so we were, blocking and tackling in terms of all of the different sessions. So we wanted to make sure that we were taking it all in. And every time we'd come out of a session, we were like, oh my gosh, did you know we could do X? Or did you know we could do Y? And so we were busy. I mean, each night we would go back to our hotel room and, go to one of the evening events. And we would say,
I remember those.
Yes. Do you remember? We can now go do this. And so, literally, if we would have had a whiteboard in our hotel rooms, we probably would have been sketching this out. So we quickly left Seattle, went back to Austin, and started to sit down and really started to put together kind of our end-to-end process and what we now comfortably refer to as our multi-year planning. And we're in our second year of kind of fully going through that. So I would say that was it. It was interesting, Mike. I don't know if you recall this, but we had lunch that last day of Engage, and we walked into the restaurant, and you guys were already sitting down, you and your team, and the waiter said, hey, what are you guys here for? And you guys said, oh, we're here for Smartsheet. He's like, oh, I love Smartsheet. I was a wedding planner. I used it for every aspect of what I was doing. And so, yeah, we're kind of hooked.
That's great, Becky. And of course I remember it. And in fact, what you might not know is my team sat down first, and while we were waiting for you, he saw our lanyards and gave that story. And I said, hey, would you mind repeating that when they get here? So yeah, it worked out well. So that's great, Becky. And I, of course, very familiar with the solution that we've built in collaboration for your facilities PMO. So what's curious is, when did you go from that solution to then realizing you could expand and manage a portfolio within Smartsheet? And what did that catalyst and growth look like?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting. So while we were still developing, the platform that we're using today, or the solution that we're using today, COVID hit. No one would have ever imagined, 18 months later, that we're where we are. It started out as something, really innocent. Our environmental health and safety team wanted to track where people were traveling. If you remember, it was like all in China. Nobody across the rest of the world was going to be impacted by this if we just kept it in China. And so we were, mostly interested in understanding where people were going. And then all of a sudden, we had a few more cases, and we had to, start to look at some other things. And then March hit. And literally, our world kind of turned upside down. We sent all of our team members home. We had to figure out how we were going to support our EH&S organization, which is a very tiny organization that was getting emails and cases and cases and cases on a daily basis, thousands of them, of people being infected or needing to know what to do. And so we quickly pivoted off of our demand planning and pulled together an incredible solution which has been guiding us for these past 18 months. And so it's been something where we went from something very, very simple to literally now we've got several different layers of the system, of the process. We're managing it on how we return and reopen our sites. We've done several different dashboards where even our executive leaders, anytime they need to know what is actually going on, they've got that access. And so, it just kind of exploded. And there's many more that I could go on and on about. My team, actually, as we're starting to get closer and closer to returning to the offices, we're also developing and looking at the new hybrid work, right? Many different corporations are looking at that. We know that we're going to change our culture. We're leading with flexibility. And so we're rolling out some technology, workspace reservation system. That's great. We're in the middle of evolving kind of our core system that we have for real estate. We're bringing in this new technology for workspace reservations. And we don't have a great inventory of what we actually have out there today at our workspaces, at our work sites. And
I can imagine the volume.
It was over 100,000 workspaces that we needed to go figure out how we're going to find out what was there, because our reservation system allows us to actually put in the amenities. So if you can imagine, if I'm going to go reserve a workspace, I need to be able to say, is it got a workspace that has 2 monitors, a docking station and whatnot? Is it a workspace that has nothing? And so literally in a matter of a 24-hour period, thanks to Smartsheet, my team was able to take a blueprint that we had. They actually developed it, and we've got an incredible solution now, which we are working and have, like I said, over 100,000 workstations. We've got the full inventory. It's going into a life cycle management with our IT team so that after day one, they can manage that. So wow. I could go on and on.
It's incredible, Becky. Yeah, thank you for sharing. So on that topic of using Smartsheet for new solutions like you are now with the reopening, how would you define a portfolio? And in your experience and working with other technologies, how does Smartsheet compare for managing a portfolio of work?
Yeah, and so in my mind, a portfolio it's a solution which allows you to go end to end, and it satisfies the needs of multiple stakeholders. And so, you've got many different layers there. In terms of, our experience, we have never found, we've looked at many legacy, systems to help us through this kind of multi-year planning journey. And there was never one tool that would ever satisfy what we needed. You either had to do total customization to it, or there's things that weren't there.
Right.
And so what we've built now with the help of the Smartsheet consulting team and this multi-year planning tool is we've got an end-to-end. We've got demand, we've got change management, we've got financial management, we've got project management, the execution of the projects, we've got integrations with different IT systems. We've got multiple dashboards and multiple stakeholders who are actually coming in and getting this information.
The visibility is huge.
The transparency is phenomenal. Yeah, it totally transformed the way that we are able to manage the portfolio, at Dell Technologies.
And you mentioned integrations. How do you think about integrations, and specifically, what types of integrations are you currently using with Smartsheet?
Yeah, I would say that we've got probably 4 different types of categories. There's the integration within Smartsheet. So we've tried to put some discipline into whatever we build, and we've kind of got a portfolio of standard things in terms of, let's say, our business addresses or contacts or things like that, where every time you build upon a solution or you add to it, you're always going back to that same single source. And so lots of integrations within. Right. We've also done integrations across accounts. So we have a lot of third-party providers that help us manage our real estate portfolio. And so during COVID, they're doing a bunch of stuff on the ground. They've got a Smartsheet account. We've got another group in another part of the globe who's got the same thing. They've got a Smartsheet account. We weaved those 3 things together, and we were able to actually get one view for Dell Technologies, which was amazing. The third one is really, we've got core to facilities. Anyone who manages a facilities organization knows that you usually have a core system. We call it our IWMS, or Integrated Work Management System. And that's where all of the key data for our portfolio sits. And so right now what we're doing is we're exporting that on a monthly, weekly, whatever, there's various things. And we're using Data Shuttle. We're using all of the premier features of Smartsheet to bring that data in to Smartsheet. And then lastly, Dell being a Microsoft Office shop, we've got a lot of different things where we're integrating it into Teams information, and we're integrating it into Power BI, and so we're doing things like that. So lots that we're doing to leverage it.
Yeah, when you're managing a portfolio, certainly we know that there's got to be ties into your other systems of record. Well, that's a great example of that, Becky. Becky, it's been great to sit down with you today, as always. Really, find it incredibly valuable, and I'm sure the rest of our customer base will as well. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.